Ready to hit the pause button on your parenting fails? Ready to feel better about your parenting? Welcome to Parenting Pause, the podcast, where all of you is welcome and where you can listen in on how other parents became the parents they always dreamed of being. I'm Leslie Potter, the founder of the Pure Joy Parenting Way. I'm a mother, a parenting coach, and a fellow traveler on this journey to wake up in our parenting. And I believe together we can make this a better world for ourselves and our kiddos.
My son was about 5. And we were in a neighborhood with lots and lots of kids. It was so much fun, like a really connected community. And a lot of aggressive behaviors were showing up for the first time. Hitting, calling names, throwing rocks, all kinds of stuff was coming up for the first time. And I found myself at such a loss, not only knowing what to do for him, to support him, but also like how to get myself through it, because I was having all kinds of things come up that I just had never experienced before, all kinds of feelings about my son and about myself as a mom and my place in the community. And then it really came into our home because the things that we were trying to deal with in the neighborhood weren't going well. And then it really compromised our relationship. And so, yeah, we were in a pretty rough place, and it happened pretty quickly. It spiraled pretty quickly, and it really was getting pretty rough. And I have lots of knowledge and training in peaceful parenting techniques, and none of it was really cutting it as far as like how to deal with emotions that were coming up for us. That's when I found Leslie's work, and it was really the only thing that was getting to the heart of what was going on for us below the surface.
And what were you trying before you came to this work?
Yeah, so we had been doing attachment parenting and so-called peaceful parenting since my kids were born. And it really resonated with me because I kind of saw it as like a guarantee that I could get these really empathetic, well-behaved, mature children that would make me feel really good about myself and look good in society. And so we were trying to be empathetic and gentle all the time and basically focus on constantly meeting their needs and constantly connecting. And I still found that I just didn't know how to deal with these huge feelings that we were basically all kind of repressing that were just lying under the surface. So we could talk all day about how we can be nice to each other and how we want to be with each other. And we still didn't have the tools to deal with the rage that was and fear that was kind of bubbling under the surface. So our so-called peaceful techniques were not creating peace in any way in our home. And then of course we had a lot of, we did have some mainstream conditioning that would come out in the most triggering moments. So it was probably a confusing mix of so-called peaceful techniques and traditional, more authoritarian techniques.
So when you started the work, what did you think you wanted to change?
I think I thought I was going to find a way to get my son to stop being aggressive. I think that was my first goal. I thought, look, I'm peaceful, I'm empathetic, I've got this really polished self that I'm presenting and bringing to motherhood, and it's always worked for me in my life before. I thought, this is what I thought at the time. But so why is it not getting me the results I want with this human that I love so much? He's seeing a different side of me, and he's calling out different things in me. And so basically I was like, how do I get it to stop? Just make it stop was my initial goal.
So that was the way you came in, saying, help me, Leslie, we gotta make this stop. Can you please help me control this kid?
Yeah.
And then when you got in and, again, what do you think drew you to this work? And then what did you begin to find?
Yeah, I think what drew me to this work was, it was the only work I could find that was asking parents to look inside themselves and look at their feelings of what was arising for them. That really struck me and was powerful to me as I started to sit with, I think I just came to your Facebook page, the practice page, and started reading your posts and people's responses, and it started to occur to me for the first time to not look at my son's behavior, but to actually look at myself and to try to see what I was feeling
Yeah, and what do you feel you had to change then? So when that focus got back on you, what do you feel you had to change instead of trying to change him? Which is the normal thing to do, right? We think
Yeah.
we feel discomfort, maybe I can get my kid to behave and I won't have to feel it. So what did you find that you had to change inside?
Gosh, kind of everything. Yeah, I had to change the way that I was with myself.
And what did that look like?
The very first thing I started doing was the safe seat practice of just taking a moment to honor what I was feeling and taking care of myself, not acting it out. I had to just begin with like just raw sensations in my body, just letting them move through, just being with them. I had to start there. I remember in the beginning, it would just be me and my kids at home all day, and I would just be taking it moment by moment. Yeah, many times a day, as feelings would come up, just trying to say, okay, go inward and be with myself through this, and just let the waves pass.
What does your current home look like? I know you spoke about it on the group a little bit. You know, things don't look maybe so different from the outside, but everything's different on the inside.
Yeah, totally. I know. It's funny when I talk to people about the work and how far I feel like we've come, because it's not that my kids behave in ways that people would want them to, or that I would want them to, or stuff comes up all the time that I don't know how to handle. I haven't changed my children as far as like shaping them into being a certain way, but I've changed the way that I'm able to work with what's coming up, and the way that I'm able to be with myself through that. And I've changed the story about what that means about us. Mostly, I've changed how I'm with myself. Sometimes it translates, then I'm able to be with them in a different way. What it looks like now is that my children are really, really honest and clear. They know what the messages are in their body and what they're needing to say, and it still looks very immature and it's very young expressions, but they're able to hear the messages in their body and express them. And more as they're getting older, I'm noticing it's so cool how it comes out in words. They're able to really tell me all these beautiful truths about how they're feeling or how things I'm doing are affecting them, what's going on for them, and what they want to do about it. So it's really awesome to see that developing.
So would you say that from the beginning to now that you feel that it is a much more safe emotional environment for everyone in the home?
That's what is kind of developing in our home, is this safe space that we can handle whatever comes up, whatever, it might be messy, it might be wild, but whatever comes up, we're going to deal with this together. It's so different from, it's not about if somebody's bad or the way that they're acting is bad or if it's acceptable or not acceptable. It's just like, wow, someone's having feelings, there are needs there, and let's be with that. So
Well, I had a beautiful mom yesterday say that she's actually, from this new perspective, she's actually able to say, I'm glad this is happening, meaning I'm glad you're acting out so that I can show up and be with you.
yes, like that's a whole nother level, isn't it? Like not only can I cope with it, but like I welcome, please express what's going on for you,
Yes.
that
So
we
I
can
can,
work with it.
yes, so I can help you emotionally develop, right?
I mean, yeah, we can go underground with it. I was wanting something different for
Yeah.
them, and really, yeah, and really for myself too.
Let's say, an example of when your son is aggressing, when he's screaming, he's throwing stuff, what this looks like
Okay.
versus grabbing him and sending him to his room and timing him out. What
Yeah.
actually happens inside of you? How do you work with it?
When my son is aggressive, it happens fast. We might just be going about our day and something comes up for him. His brain is sending these panic messages, and he starts showing it with his body. And so the first step for me is just to kind of adjust and sink in and go, okay, yeah, this is happening. And being with that feeling of disappointment, kind of that, okay, this is happening and it's time to deal with it. Or I guess I'm choosing to deal with it. And it happens lightning fast for me now because I've been practicing. But that's the first step, is like, okay, this is happening, and really accepting that it's happening instead of being in a place of trying to make it stop. So then from there, I try to I sink into my body and listen to myself so that I can kind of let the feelings flow through and listen to what's coming up for me. Because usually things, a lot comes up. Almost my brain could start yelling, "What? But you were hungry. You were doing this." A lot of things, just messages will flood. Like the panic comes to me as well. And I kind of can feel that and hear myself and just say, "Okay, yeah, you know, I hear that. Let's be here now, and then I'm gonna take care of you." I say that to myself. So if I'm able to do that, I have some space. I can listen and tune into kind of the messages that he's getting, and I can say, well, if there's some danger, then I will just very quickly move in with my body and just handle that, like the champion of safety, like a superhero swoop in and handle the safety if there's something getting thrown or waved around or someone is in harm's way. I just swoop in with my body and handle that really quickly and strongly. There's no script. I just tune in and, whoa, hey, you need to be heard, and try to hear what is the message that's going on that he's trying to get out. And if he's not able to, then it's just we listen together kind of to the story that his body's telling. And it's my job to be with my feelings about what's coming up for him. And my job, I see it as much as I can to hold that safe container for myself and extend it out to him, let him kind of come into it.
It's so beautiful what you're saying, Leah, is because first and foremost, you're creating an internal safety for yourself instead of trying to create an external safety by controlling him. He feels threatened. He passes you the hot potato. You feel
Yeah.
threatened, right? And so then you think, I've got to control him. I got to get the external to be safe so I can be safe and then
Yeah.
show up for him, which sounds ridiculous when we think about it, right?
Right.
So what you're doing is you're checking out, you're going to feel that threat. I want parents to know this. You're going to feel that threat,
Yeah.
but
It's
you've done the work long enough, right, with the safe seat to recognize that that's just a memory. That danger, it's a memory,
yeah.
right? And that pause that you're taking, you're able to go, okay, okay, like you say, I'm here with you. If there's really danger, I'll take care of you. You're talking to that part in you that's feeling threatened, and therefore, you can get her safe. It's like you're holding her on the side saying, I'm going to protect you. You're okay. He's not a threat to you, right?
Yeah.
Which helps you grow up and to be the adult and to realize that most likely you were the threat to your son. Your
Right.
request or you asking him to do something. So then
Right.
when you can step in that ownership of, oh, okay, I need to listen. Right?
Right.
I need to hear what was going on because I may need to approach my son in a different way.
Yeah.
So this is the ultimate. I want folks to know this is the ultimate responsibility is to say, "Oh, okay, if I really want to be with my child because your daughter is very different, she
Yeah.
needs different things. I may need to modify, my safety level. Like I can't maybe just ask him directly.
Yeah.
Right? Because that may be feel too threatening to him, and if I can listen, I can go, "Oh, well, if I wanna ask my son for something, I'm gonna have to go in a little bit over to the left, where with my daughter, I can ask directly."
Totally. Yep. That's another big part of it is just we don't get in those situations quite as often now because we're starting to learn. First, it was learning how to deal with them, and now we're starting to get a step further where it's how can we prevent this?
Yes, and I think as parents, we get so adamant about, "This is the way it is, and I gotta do," and that doesn't take into account what you're saying, the sensitivity of your son,
Yeah.
what he can tolerate, because he is cooperative if you can be emotionally safe for him,
Totally. Yep.
right?
Some
So
humans, especially, it seems like our brains really feel threatened by those harsh stances that are pretty considered pretty normal in parenting to take those harsh stances. But
absolutely.
for some humans, especially, probably for most of us, but yeah, especially some, it's really pretty triggering.
Yes, and so then their aggressive behavior is actually them doing the very best they can to take care of themselves if
Hmm.
if they're perceiving a threat, right?
Yes.
Like I like to tell parents, if a tiger was actually after your child, you'd want him to kick and scream or run away or do whatever, be aggressive. So when we start to understand this is a biological reaction to you are actually usually the threat. And then we can start to modify and moderate. For me, I, began to understand how I have to approach my daughter because of her history and her sensitivity. it became very, very clear that I can't directly go into her energy. It's too threatening, right?
Yeah.
So then I began to know the work was mine instead of trying to get her to take my direct hit or she was going to be punished or consequenced or
Yeah.
whatever. It was like, oh, I know when she lets me in. You know when your son lets you in,
Oh, yeah.
right? So when he has an aggressive response, my always first question is, how was I not safe for this child?
Yeah.
Not how was I wrong or bad or how were they wrong or bad? But if you know your child, this is so critical. I want parents to hear this. If you know your child, then it is your job to be able to fine tune the instrument,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because you have a highly sensitive instrument in your child.
Yes.
So you would never pick up a Stradivarius violin and, plunk the strings and hit it on the ground or just say, I'm just going to play this. You'd be like, oh my God, I'm touching a Stradivarius.
And I guess one thing I want to say about, when I was talking about what initially led me to your work with the neighborhood, in hindsight, when I look back on that, there was so many, I can always find the reasons, really good reasons, why he was acting out. Like, a lot of it was the way adults were treating children in the neighborhood, that he was picking up on power dynamics that were at play that he was seeing as disrespectful. And that was his brain telling him to stand up to that. And so when I was just focusing on him and his behavior and going, oh my goodness, this is an aggressive child, yeah, it was really taking me down the wrong path.
And
Rather than going, wow, this is a truth teller who is so sensitive that he notices when parents are bullying or powering over other children.
and this is that switch we talk about. If we're going to change the paradigm, we have to be willing as adults to take the responsibility,
Yeah,
right? That how we are treating children, how we're talking to children, what we're asking of children is often a threat to their very young brains, to their
yeah,
sensitivity, right? And so instead of trying to knock it into them and punish it out of them and reward them to do it so that we feel comfortable, I believe with all my heart and soul, it's time now that we take on the responsibility. And why? Because we're the adults.
I decided at some points that I was going to facilitate him communicating with the grown-ups what he felt was unfair, because I thought he is communicating, but it's not in a way that they can hear. And so I was trying to help facilitate him being heard, or at least attempting to speak in a way that would facilitate them hearing him. And it was really fascinating to see the grown-ups were just kind of in shock. Like, it wasn't something that was really that they knew what to do with, to be questioned, or to feel questioned. It was very interesting.
Well, I love that you said that because I think that's what we're having to change as our language, the language of parenting. We're having to learn, that there is a new language and that we do often feel our children come from a foreign land because they didn't get that memo that they were supposed to behave and they were supposed to act right and they were supposed to take care of us. We have to be willing to learn a foreign language, I think, the language of the child. And we do know that language inside. That's why I always start with the work
Yeah,
inside because we didn't learn, we were conditioned not to
right.
listen to ourselves and to honor ourselves when we're in distress,
Yeah,
right? Because our little beings are little mirrors for us. As I say, you will love what you love in yourself and you will hate what you hate in yourself and your
yeah,
child, right? So I believe in all my heart that there are wonderful little mirrors, there are wonderful little gurus that are coming back to say, hey, you might want to pick up this part of yourself. So when you pull your lens back really far and see this in a beautiful, um, changing the world, what would you say your son's gift is to the world then?
I think he senses and feels truth that people aren't conscious of, and reflects it.
Well, that's what I feel for a lot of our children now. It may not be an easy journey if they're going to be able to stand up and speak the truth. And, like you say, the adults, we don't really want to hear it. We
No.
really want to hear that, oh, well, we just got to get harder on our children. We
Yeah.
got to, get them to behave more. But in my view, the culture is not very great right now. Not many of us are happy with how
Mhm.
it's going. And I do believe in raising children in this way, creating a safe emotional environment for them to be able to know, have the truth validated instead of told that their truth is not, real.
Yes.
That we will be raising children, and hopefully we'll raise enough of them that we get that 100th monkey syndrome where they will be able to stand up and say, you guys, adults, are going to have to deal with your discomfort because we are speaking the truth. I know you're in one of the parenting groups, and maybe you could just speak right before we go just how critical that support is to be able to parent
Oh,
this
yeah.
way.
Yeah, I don't know that I could have internalized the work in the way that I have without the support of that group, because we um, could just come to each other whenever we needed. And it was really a safe space for our vulnerability to practice bringing out our vulnerability, and having other people be with it starts to give you the strength to be with your own vulnerability. When you
Yeah.
see someone else can sit with these feelings that I'm having without, fixing it or trying to talk me out of it, it kind of gives you a template for how to do that for yourself.
All right, sweetheart. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Leslie.
This week, I'd like to thank Leah, our lovely mama, for joining me and sharing her deep journey in parenting. Parenting Paused is produced by Kim Paletti at Sound Mind Productions. Music by Jan Perchik. You can find the show notes at www.purejoyparenting.com, where you'll get access to the foundational practice of Pure Joy, the safe seat, and find links to relevant topics, as well as a transcription of the show. And if this work inspires you and you would like to practice, come join us in my free Pure Joy Parenting Practice group. You'll find the link in the show notes. Thank you for being here today and listening to the Parenting Pause podcast, your partner and support in finding the joy in yourself and with your children. And remember, if you're about to scream, pause.